Good morning. We're here at Scolari's. Scolari's is a locally owned supermarket, has wonderful fresh vegetables and foods. I'd like to introduce Rob. He's going to take us shopping this morning. Robb
It's
Wolf
perfect time of day to whip our way through the store.
Yeah, it is too. Robb Wolf is the best-selling author of the Paleo Solution Diet, and he's going to tell us how to eat, what to eat, and how to shop.
This is actually kind of an interesting spot here when we start cruising through the store, because we've got like snacky candy food here, we've got the baked goods here, and it's almost like you have to wade your way through a minefield to get back to what we would typically call real food. But if people follow health recommendations at all, they're usually told to shop the periphery of the store. There may be a few things in the middle of the store
Right.
that are pretty good to go, but we're mainly going to be on the outer edge, and then we'll work our way through the middle and look at some of the stuff that we would probably recommend that folks not have a lot of, but probably do want to have a lot of it. So
And buy a lot of.
and buy a lot
Yeah.
of it. So we'll work our way through here, I guess.
Rob, I'm looking at all these sugars over here, and I know that sugar is just really bad for you.
Well, everything that we have going on over here, we've got high refined carbohydrate, high sugar, potentially some trans fats still, and these things are what we would call hyperpalatable. So in the folks that are doing a lot of the neuroscience of appetite and appetite control, once you change these foods from what their original form was to such a degree, it's virtually impossible to stop eating them. There's some of the snack foods they claim you can't eat just one, like what is it,
Right.
Lay's potato chips
Yeah,
or whatever.
I can't.
And it's true. So these things not only have some nutritional content that is pretty questionable, they're actually triggering centers in the brain that really encourage you to eat more, which is fantastic for the food chemists putting their kids through school. Not so good for us. So
And very addictive.
Very
I understand
addictive.
sugars
Yeah.
are very addictive.
Yeah,
High
yeah.
in carbohydrates.
Yeah, anytime we get a high carbohydrate load and then some salt, some sugar, some fat, all in combination, then we tend to get what they call a hyperpalatable. It's more palatable. It stimulates the taste buds in a way that you just can't get from fruits, vegetables, meat, cheese, that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. You just can't eat one donut, can you?
No. Well, I can, because the celiac, it's a pretty nasty response afterwards. So we've got some grab and grow fruit. At least this stuff, typically any store that you go into, you're going to find some sort of easy to grab fruit that's possibly in season, maybe not, but not the end of the world if it's not. But obviously a really good option for snack. Over this thing, it's kind of funny. We have a huge amount of really incredibly nutritious vegetables in squash and pumpkins, and we end up using most of them for decoration, and people don't even consider eating them other than like pumpkin pie. But you can bake those, put a little cinnamon on them, maybe a little bit of brown sugar if you really need that. But they're amazingly delicious just as is.
High in nutrients.
Super nutrient dense, loaded with carotenoids, which are very effective as a anti-aging, anti-cancer agent. So yeah.
Sounds good. I may need to eat more of those.
So for me, being the paleo guy, the cheese stuff is a little bit in I guess a gray area kind of thing. You could say some people are immunologically reactive to it. Some people get kind of an insulin response from cheese. But it's one of those things that, relative to a bagel or a giant slice of pumpkin pie, probably a pretty good option. Again, people are always concerned about snack foods. What do I eat on the go?
Right.
I prefer to see people just cook 3 meals a day and just get their food from that. But folks are often anxious
Right.
about snacks and whatnot.
The one thing that people say about eating cheeses, and those are people that don't have an immune response to cheese, but eat cheeses, they say too high in fats. And so there's this big thing about let's reduce all the fats in our diet. What do you say about that?
Well, it's funny. The fat is actually the most satiating macronutrient that we have. So we've got protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Fat tends to be very, very satiating. So folks could eat a little bit of chicken breast. The protein is also quite satiating. But think about sitting down and eating a stick of butter. It's kind of tough. So even though the caloric content of fat is higher, we've got 9 calories per gram relative to 4 calories per gram of protein and carbohydrate. It actually, once you eat some fat, you actually feel full, feel satiated, It triggers the palatability centers in the brain that tell you, I just ate some food, I don't need to eat more. So it's kind of a misguided recommendation. Typically when we remove the fat from different products, we end up increasing the carbohydrate content. So when we look at some of the snack foods, we're going to see low fat or no fat, and they will be sky high in carbohydrate, particularly sugar.
Very interesting. So fat, I heard fat really doesn't make you fat.
Well, I mean, I've had clients that can break that rule. So, we've said eat kind of unlimited, fruit, vegetables, meat, nuts, seeds. And we have had clients that will sit down and eat a whole, Costco container of almonds. So we have a general rule, but as with most rules, people can break them. So, I mean, there is a point. I joke and I say you need to know the difference between having a mouth and a vacuum cleaner. So if you can sit down and eat a pound of almonds at a sitting, that is going to be a large enough caloric intake that it's going to either block fat loss or you could gain some weight off of it. So we generally call these things kind of free foods, but I had another client that could sit down and eat literally like 30, cuties back to back. That's going to be a problem. Most people can't do that, but this guy, he was an interesting character. So I like to, we have some general guidelines, like we generally say, that doesn't make you fat, and that's generally true, but
you can
we do have
overdo
some
it.
people that can overdo it. Yeah, most people can't though. Like if they eat some nuts, they have some, and they're good. So.